Hello everyone, today we are going to be doing Biology Paper 2, October-November 2022. We have 45 minutes to do this. Let's start. Question 1. Which process provides an organism with the raw materials needed for tissue repair? Now for these kinds of questions, we would need the raw materials for the tissue repair. So what is the reasonable answer? It is nutrition. Nutrition provides the raw materials for tissue repair. Now, so the reasonable answer here would be C. Number 2. What is the name given to a group of individuals that can reproduce to produce fertile offspring? This is called a species. A species, you have to learn this definition by heart. It is the only way. And it makes sense because they reproduce to produce fertile offspring. So answer is C. Number 3. Root hair cells are found on plant roots. What is a feature present in root hair cells but not in sperm cell? Well, this is we know that root hair cell is a plant cell. So what is the difference between that? It is a cell wall. Now here, as I'm drawing here, you can see that this is a root hair cell, and then there is this. This is the cell wall, and the pointing thing is called the cytoplasmic extension, which is just the cytoplasm that is being extended very narrowly. So yeah. So the answer here is B. Question number 4. The cell listed have specialized structure that allow them to carry out their functions: ciliated nerve cell. Which cell structures that can move? Ciliated cell and sperm cell. We can say that they both are motile, which means they can move. So the answer 1 and 4, which is that? It is B. Now moving on to question number 5. Some examples of substance moving across membranes are listed. Glucose molecules in the epithelium that lines the small intestine. Now, this requires the use of active transport. Nitrate ions from one concentrated in root hair cells also require active transport. Water molecules, they require something called diffusion out of the air spaces. So which examples must oxygen be present? It is example 1 and 2, because respiration, as you might have recalled, is using oxygen to release energy. So active transport need energy, so B is the correct answer. Question number 6. Plant tissue is placed in the solution. What would cause plasmolysis of the plant cell? Plasmolysis meaning the shrinkage of cell membrane of the cell in general. So the shrinkage of cell membrane, cell wall, and the plant cell in general. This is because there's lower water potential. There's in the external solution. So the external solution has to have a lower water potential. So all the water from the plant is going to go to the solution which has the lower water potential. And this means that the water moves out of the plant cell. So 2 and 3 are correct. And so here C is the reasonable answer. Question number 7. DNA is a molecule consisting of 2 linked strands. Part of a single DNA is shown. Okay, so remember that A and T pairs up and C and G pairs up. So now we can just write them out again. So A pairs with T, so T, G, G, C, A, C, T, T. Now just find the one that is pairing with this, and this is C, so the reasonable answer is C. Moving on to question number 8. The graph shows the concentration of a substance during the course of an enzyme control reaction. What substance is this? So if you look at the graph here, it is again concentration against time. Because the concentration is constant, we can say that this is enzyme. This is an enzyme because an enzyme is a biological catalyst which speeds up the rate of reaction, but is not actually used up in a reaction. So it is not being consumed, so the concentration over time does not change and it is constant. Therefore, A is the correct answer. Moving on to question number 9, the graph shows the effect of temperature on the activity of enzyme. Now here we will see which temperature do effective collisions happen most frequently. Now we look at the graph. 40 degrees, we can see there's the highest curve, so it is at 40 degrees. B is the answer. Number 10, which statement about enzyme is correct? They are made out of carbohydrates. No, they are not made out of carbohydrates. They are made out of proteins. All enzymes are made out of proteins. And B, they are definitely affected by pH, and then they are not used up in the reaction, so D is the correct answer. Question number 11. 2 of the test tubes were filled with hydrogen carbonate indicator. Okay, so we can see one of the box, there is a box that illustrates the light in test tube Y, and in test tube X it is all normal. And now, so the point of adding hydrogen carbonate indicator is to see if there is a change in level of carbon dioxide concentration. And so here we can see that at the start of the investigation it is orange, at the end of the investigation it is red, orange, red. Okay, so we have to know that this is a carbon dioxide level test. And that if the carbon dioxide is increasing, it is yellow. If carbon dioxide decreases, it turns purple. But if the carbon dioxide concentration is at normal levels, then it is red. So here we can see at the start of investigation it is orange. So orange is kind of the same as yellow, so there's high, and then it turns to normal again, so it means that there is a decrease in concentration of carbon dioxide in X. And in Y we can see the orange turns to yellow, which means yellow meaning increase, so there is a increase in carbon dioxide in Y. So A seems like the reasonable answer, and it is, so A. Yes. And moving on to question number 12, the substances that are found in the leaf of a plant, which substances are obtained from the soil. Now the only reasonable thing that you can obtain from the soil is mineral ions. So yeah. 13, the chlorella bacterium produces toxins that cause chloride ion to be secreted into small intestine. What is the immediate effect of this water potential of blood in the intestinal capillaries and the small intestine? So the water potential in the blood in the capillaries has to be raised, and the contents in the small intestine has to be lowered, because we know if the water concentration in the capillaries rise, it means then the water would move out from higher concentration of water potential to lower concentration of water potential in the small intestine. So this is by osmosis, and therefore this bacterium essentially produces a very strong osmotic movement. Therefore it causes diarrhea, and in worst case scenario it may cause death. So C. 14. The graph shows the concentration of maltose in different parts of the alimentary canal. Now we see there is a maltose concentration and mouse stomach, small intestine. Now what causes the change in concentration at X? And X we see is in the small intestine part. And now the curve falls off, it decreases, so this could only mean one thing, which is the action of maltase, in which the maltose is being turned into 2 glucose molecules, because this is due to the enzyme maltase. So yeah, the maltose concentration decreases, therefore C is the correct answer. Okay. Question 15. The diagram shows a bean seedling soon after it has germinated, whereas most of the water is absorbed at C. This part is called the root hair cells. As you can see, they are like hairy little things that you can see obviously from the diagram. Okay, moving on. Question number 16. Scientists investigate the movement of substance in the plant. They cut a ring of tissue from the stem. Okay, removing the tissue removes some of the transport vessels found around the edge of the stem. A few days later, they notice swelling above the area where the tissue has been removed. So when we find the swelling and the tissue removed, the outer layer of the plant The outer layer of the stem is always the phloem, so it is the phloem vessel that is being removed, so A and B. And then the sucrose, the phloem transports the sucrose, so the sucrose cannot move to the sink, therefore A is the correct answer. The diagram shows the outside of the human heart. Which structure is the coronary arteries? And you can see the coronary arteries is very clearly visible here on the diagram, so D is the correct answer. 18. The photomicrograph shows some different types of red blood cell. What is the function of cell label X? Now, as you can see, this is you can see the lobe-shaped structure like cell, and this means that this is a phagocyte. And in a phagocyte, they undergo phagocytosis. So B is the correct answer. Okay, which can cause food poisoning. Which word describes the So a bacterium is a pathogen. So C is the correct answer. Now 20. What is the approximate percentage of oxygen in expired air? Now in normal oxygen levels in clean dry air. In clean dry air, oxygen levels are 21%, but in expired air, it is 16%. You just have to learn this by heart. 21. Which process could continue without energy from respiration? Now, active transport needs energy, growth needs energy, protein synthesis needs energy, but osmosis does not need energy as it is a passive form of transportation, it is like the same as diffusion but for water molecules. And it does not need energy, so C is the correct answer. 22. Which rows show the product of anaerobic respiration in humans and yeast? Now in products in human, what it really acts is the product in muscles. So the muscles undergo anaerobic respiration and produce lactic acid only, while in yeast they produce alcohol and carbon dioxide, so B is the correct answer. A person eats foods containing protein. Some amino acids are converted into urea and excreted from the body, which rows identify the sites of processes. Okay, so the first one is protein to amino acid, that is with stomach. And then the second one is called deamination, where amino acids turn to urea, so A, liver, and then kidney, so A is the correct answer. What is the response to a low concentration of glucose in the blood? Well, low concentration of glucose, meaning glucagon. Glucagon is going to increase the glucose level, so B is the correct answer. It converts glycogen into glucose. This is homeostasis. Okay. 25. Which hormone causes an increase in breathing rate, increased rate in heart rate, and widening of pupils? This is adrenaline. If you see increase, then it's always adrenaline. 26. Which rule about the tropic response is correct? Gravitropism, phototropism, and phototropism corresponds to light, and gravitropism corresponds to gravity. Now here we can see of the multiple options given, the roots will grow towards the gravity, if you have noticed, and the shoot will grow towards the light source, and therefore D is the correct answer. What is the definition of a drug? So a drug is a substance taken into a body that modifies or affects chemical reactions. So C is the correct answer. A is not the correct answer because A is describing what is known as a hormone, and B is describing what is known as antibodies. And D is describing something called a catalyst or an enzyme. So C is the reasonable answer, which is drug. Okay. Question 28. What is the sequence of events in sexual reproduction in plants? Well, in sexual reproduction of plants, pollination has to occur first, then the growth of pollen, then fertilization. So D is the correct answer. Which statement describes passive immunity? Well, passive immunity is basically antibodies that is acquired from another individual. And this is something that you have to learn, and passive immunity does not create memory cells. It's not from vaccination. Okay, and they are usually gotten from breast milk and antibodies, yeah, so B is the correct answer. 30. What happens to the number of chromosomes when a cell divides by meiosis? Meiosis, remember, is a reduction division, so it halves the number of chromosomes which is available from a body cell. So a body cell is a diploid cell which contains full number of chromosomes, and it will halve the diploid into a newly formed haploid cell. This haploid cell contains only one set of chromosomes. So diploid to haploid is always by meiosis, and it will halve it. Yes, and we can represent the diploid using a number called 2n, and we can represent the haploid with an n, with a small n brackets. Sex condition is caused by a recessive allele. A healthy male and female are both unaffected by the condition, but the female has only one copy of the recessive allele. Well, this means that the female is a carrier. Although they are not affected by it, they do have this condition to transfer it to the next generation. What is the chance of the offspring that is being affected by the sex-linked condition? Well, for this question, we always have to draw a Punnett square. And here we can see we will draw the father, which is XY, and the mother, XX. And we will use a capital H to represent a healthy gene, and a small h for a recessive or for the condition. In this case, the sex-linked condition. So if we draw the Punnett square, this is going to be X capital H, X capital H, X capital H, X capital small h, X capital H, Y, X capital small h, Y. Now here we can see out of the 4 results, it is from it is affected, the male is affected. So here it is over 1/4, which is 25%. So 25% of all the offsprings will be affected. C is the correct answer. The diagram shows unspecialized cell of a mammalian embryo soon after fertilization. What is the correct description of these cells? Now, the embryo is always made up of stem cells that are undergoing mitosis in its early stages. So C is the correct answer. Which feature is a leaf adaptation for a xerophyte? Xerophyte is a plant that lives in dry environments such as the desert. We can give an example such as a cactus. And as you might have noticed, they have like these hair-like structures on these. So A is the reasonable answer. What is an example of evolution? Evolution, well, it has got to do with natural selection. So the development of antibiotic-resistant bacteria. So B is the correct answer. 35. The diagram shows the flow of energy through living organisms. Energy in plant, energy in animals. These are both chemical energy. So A is the correct answer. 36. The diagram shows the nitrogen cycle in the ocean. Which stage represents nitrification? Well, nitrification, it is a process in which the ammonium ion will turn into a nitrate ion. In this case, ammonia into nitrate. NH4 plus will turn into NO3 minus. This is nitrification. And there is another thing called nitrogen fixation, which is done by nitrogen fixing bacteria. This will turn the nitrogen gas in the air into nitrate ions. The question asks for nitrification, so it is from ammonia to nitrate, so C is the reasonable answer. Okay, moving on. (37) The graph shows how much penicillin is produced by the fungus Penicillium in a fermenter. Shows the concentration of sugar, ammonium ions, penicillin. Penicillin uses sugar in a food source and needs ammonium ions. Okay, for these kind of questions, I would suggest you to look at the graph very, very carefully, so that you would understand every single thing that is written on here. So what does the graph show about the conditions needed for penicillin production? Well, as you see from here, sugar must be constantly added. Nope, that is untrue because the sugar level is going down. Penicillin cannot produce penicillin when its concentration decreases. No. The penicillium organism is decreasing, but the penicillin is not decreasing, so this is false. Most penicillin is produced when nutrients concentration are low. This is correct because the sugar, the nutrients that is needed for the fungus, like sugar and ammonium ions, are relatively low over time, and they still produce a high amount of penicillin. So this is correct. When the nutrients concentration are low, they produce it. 38. The list shows some of the steps in the production of human insulin by genetic engineering. What is the correct sequence of these steps? Well, the correct sequence for this is number 4. First of all, the insulin gene is removed from DNA using restriction enzyme. Then the human insulin gene is inserted into the bacterial plasmid using DNA ligase. Then the recombinant plasmid is inserted into the bacterium. Finally, the bacterium containing the recombinant plasmid replicates, so D is the correct answer. 39. Deforestation results in an increase in the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. What is the correct explanation? Well, this is because there is less photosynthesis. Deforestation means cutting down the trees. And as you might have recalled, photosynthesis is CO2, the carbon dioxide plus water, creating glucose and oxygen. Now we can balance this out by adding 6 to everything. And now you can see deforestation meaning cutting down trees. There is less photosynthesis in the air. Less photosynthesis means less intake of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere to the plants, and therefore this increases the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So B is the correct answer. Now finally, question number 40. Which definition of sustainable development is correct? It is A. Providing for the needs of an increasing human population without harming the environment. You gotta learn the definition. This is exactly what they ask you every year. So that is it. I hope you liked this video. If you liked it, consider subscribing and comment down below of any other paper variants that you would like me to do or explain, or even topics in general. I could explain chemistry, physics as well. And overall, thank you for watching and supporting me. I hope you have a great day. With love, Kafka.